Hey everyone, this is Kaisif and welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at flying machine return mechanisms. So we've got quite a few different versions for different purposes, and let's get down to this. So the first one we've got are the basic flying machines. We've got a vertical one and a horizontal one. Basic flying machines got an observer powering a piston, powering some sticky blocks, which moves along the entire machine. So if I was to update that observer, you can see that it all flies straight up. And the same thing goes for a horizontal flying machine. However, you don't need the observer in direct contact with the piston, as you can power it through air blocks. You can also have the observers vertically, and once again, if you power the observer in the back, it goes forwards. So now the question that we are going to be looking to answer is, how do we get that thing back to where it started? So here we've got a similar setup, but the observers are pointing upwards. And so the trick to send it back is to power the observer in front. So here we've got a piston which can extend, and when it extends, it'll be in line with the observer. That's why we've got this downwards facing observer which is continuously powering above it. So once it reaches there, it extends the piston, which updates the main powering observer to send it back. So this is the concept that we use for some of the other more complicated designs. So here we've got one that actually comes back along with the flying machine by just one block. So the updating piston is all the way at the back, and here we've got some sticky blocks to help shift that sort of terminal backwards. So if I were to just send this off and let this thing do its thing, so you can see that it's been shifted, it's been updated. We have a bit of a jig happening before it's sent back completely. So the terminal has just been shifted by one block. If you watch this in slow motion, you can see the observers both powering the sticky block, which then is extended while it's coming back. It once again sucks up the thing in the front, but then pushes it back out again. So it's pretty self-explanatory. We've got a sticky piston pointing towards us, and the other two are normal pistons. The next one is this monstrosity. This is one that can actually go up and down. The reason it's so big is because it uses push limit overloading. So what this does is that goes all the way to the end, where we've got the similar returning mechanism. We've got the updater, and we've got a few extra blocks for pushing this terminal downwards. That sends the flying machine back, and we've got this pretty big thing which looks like a saw, with some delays and stuff to push the entirety of the flying machine down a block so that it just keeps going. So this is useful for stuff like water clearers, while the previous one's good for map making. So that's how this end looks while it's coming, and this is the other end which pushes the flying machine down. As you can see, it actually pushes it down in segments. We can look at that in slow motion in just a bit, but over here you can see the observer, which powers the slime block to power the piston, which also sucks up the portion on the top. The observer then powers the piston again to push it downwards, so the whole thing is now down by a single block. On the other hand, we've got the flying machine pushing thingy, which is a whole lot bigger, so there are a lot more things going on. So the observer powers a piston which pushes the honey segment down, which in turn powers a few extra segments to push the slime segment downwards. The reason for the delay is so that it doesn't get stuck during a piston extension. And this just keeps going on and on. You can use it to easily clear out large areas of water. Alright, the next thing is the reverse of the pushing backy thing. It is the pushing forwardy thingy. This is what I use for road makers while you're going away from you, instead of building the whole area beforehand. Here we've got the updating piston, and that is the pushing piston. The sticky block pulls the slime block towards itself to reset. So once again, set this off. You can see that here we're using a redstone block. That is because we want the sticky end, sort of the back end of it, to not be replaced until the flying machine passes through completely. That's probably going to be a bit more. So yeah, if we go here, you can see that the pulling fails. Now it pulls it only after the flying machine has passed through, so we don't have any unnecessary pulling or pushing anymore. Alright, the final one is one of my personal favorites. This is a self-returning flying machine. We've got some interesting mechanics over here, but the reason this is really useful is because you've got this terminal in the front where you can put some slime blocks for all kinds of things, mainly tunnel balls. So if you just send this off, it goes all the way, hits the obsidian where it can't move anymore, and then it comes back on its own. So the reason for this sort of behavior is the pistons on the left. You can see that the piston, when it extends, isn't in front of the observer, but once it stops, it is, which sends the whole thing back. So yeah, that's how this thing works. And yeah, these are all the different ways you can get your flying machines to come back to the home base.